Hi, my name is Eric Thompson. I'm with the RDUS Emergency Operations Center, and I'm back again after a very short briefing with the team here at the EOC. And I've heard from the call center here, and the call center, as someone has pointed out, is on the number behind the board behind me. I know it's not the best, but it's there. The number is 250-490-4225, and there were some calls coming in about the latest alert that went out, and that alert showed the Greater West Bench area. And I don't believe it specifically mentioned Sage Mesa, but if you look at this map right here, that's really the key is not every zone in that area there. So that's something to keep in mind. Look at the map as a good source, but phoning is also a good idea too if you just want clarification. So that's on the alert that went out just a short time ago. That was an expanded alert that goes into our southerly area, and PIB, the Penticton Indian Band, St. Pinkton, also put out an order and an alert. And the RDOS, as a regional emergency operations center, has been working with with local governments, First Nations, to provide some of this assistance in not only creating some of these alerts and orders, but also making sure that they get posted here on the website. So that is the newest information that we have available. And West Bench says West Bench is not on alert. So what we're talking about here is areas that are inside the regional district of Okanagan-Similkameen. So if anybody is wondering, if you live in that area, you would have likely received the alert. And if you do what I'm doing here and go to this map, I'm going to put the link in the chat, and you zoom in, you see your property in that yellow, you're under alert. That's basically it. And what kinds of things can you do? Some people will move barbecues because the propane tank is underneath the house. And so if blowing embers are coming in, is that going to be a problem? You have a wood pile near your house, and they're fire smarting your property. Basically, it's a bit of a last minute thing now. You can take while your property, if your property is under an alert, that could help in the event that fire moves closer to your home. So there is no intention here to scare people by any means, but alert means be prepared. It's giving you an opportunity to get ready to leave if conditions change. So that's why those are issued. I don't have any other new information. I'm going to be stepping away again to take a couple of media calls. But there's it says here, where do people go beyond Penticton? I'm not really sure what that means. Anybody who is in the area and needs to go to the reception center, that's at the Penticton Trade and Convention Center in Penticton. That's at 273 Power Street. I had heard earlier that there might be some reception centers that are open to the west in Chilliwack and possibly Seabird Island. But just if you go and register online at ess.gov.bc.ca, you should be able to get a bit more information on what you're able to do as far as getting support if you're outside of the area and that type of thing. All right, we're going to just take another pause again. I'm going to leave this map up for you. Apologize again in advance that I'm not able to stay here the whole time, but I am trying to fuel in it. That's a really important point. Last night, I noticed that the gas stations close at a certain time, and people are trying to get gas, and it wasn't possible. So, all right, I'm going to take a quick call, and I'll be back in a minute.
property damage there is.
All right, I'm back again. My name is Eric. I'm with the Emergency Operations Center with the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, and I apologize for the delay for the last while, or not delay, but just my absence. I know you're watching a live feed that's not very exciting. I should probably put something else up there, but just been talking to media and getting some other information. I was able to gather together some numbers, and I'll have to contact one of the media representatives who was asking for this from CP, I believe it was. But there are a number of properties that are on evacuation order and alert, and I've got the best guess, well, not guess, but the most accurate numbers I was able to get on that. So this is really more for media and interest for the public as well, for anyone who's out there. But the number of properties currently under an evacuation order in the district of Summerland, or excuse me, in the regional district of Okanagan-Similkameen. So these are electoral areas, and the number on evacuation order right now in the RDOS, 416. So 416 properties under an evacuation order for the regional district of Okanagan-Similkameen. The total number of properties under alert in the regional district, 1,100. So 1100, 1,100. Then if we look ahead to Summerland, so Summerland basically has one evacuation order in place for the entire community, including my home, and that's 5,688 properties. So there's about 12,000 people who live in Summerland, and the number we have for properties that are under that evacuation, 5,688. And for PIB, Penn Band, again, I don't speak on behalf of Penticton Indian Band, but I do know that roughly the numbers that are impacted by what you're seeing right there on that map, the new evacuation order, 38 properties. And then for the alerts in Penticton Indian Band, 1,082 approximately. So those are the numbers that I have available. I wanted to let you know as well that right now in the city of Penticton, the reception center is for people who are evacuated from their homes. It's very busy, and there is a limited supply of hotels available in the area. So if you are an evacuee and you are still looking for a place to go, or possibly a new evacuee, if you do have family or friends you can stay with, that would be ideal. Right now there's no group lodging set up, but they're trying to, the ESS, Emergency Support Services, are trying to find a place for people to stay, hotels, and again there's a limited supply. We did hear earlier that the Peach Fest event, a big event for this region every year, is on pause for today, and then they'll reassess for tomorrow. So Peach Fest not going ahead today. I noticed coming in this morning as well that the Penticton Farmers Market and the community market both were put on hold for the day, and likely due to what's going on with the wildfires, but also the smoke. And that's a big draw here in this community. Both markets really, they're just a great community event, draw a lot of people to Main Street in Penticton, but they are on pause for today as well. So that's the latest information I have available for you. Those are some of the numbers of I can share with you. And going back to, we've been here on YouTube for quite a while. I can't recall, it was 5 hours or so, and then we had a stream earlier, but we had to restart it. But we were talking earlier with Graham Statt, who is the CAO of the District of Summerland, and he really put it into perspective this morning and what we're dealing with. The first morning after a very large incident, there's a lot of questions, and people are wondering about going back to their homes. So some of the work that will be happening, in addition to continuing to fight this fire, which is what BC WildFire and all the crews they're working with are doing. The other side of that is to start assessing properties that aren't impacted by the wildfire anymore, and whether people can go back to those properties, and what it's going to take to get people back into the community. But this isn't likely a 1 or 2 day thing. Some properties, if people have to access them, certainly access permits would be looked at some point. And I certainly can't guess when that will be, and nobody seems to know right now because there's still so much going on. But as we move forward, when you look at a place like Summerland that doesn't currently have power to the best of my knowledge, and there may be challenges with some of the other infrastructure. It could take a while to get people back into their homes, and certainly every effort will be made to not only make that happen, but make sure that we can share it with you directly. All right. Okay, I see that there is a post on here about RCMP. I'm going to go and confirm that information and come back and give you what I can. for just a few more minutes here. We're keeping this live stream going for the next little while, just in case any new information happens. In case you've just joined us, we did talk earlier about the new evacuation order and new alerts that are in place that you'll see on the RDOS map there. So link in the chat again for people who may not have seen it or who are just joining us. And this is where you can check the map out and take a look to see if your property is impacted by an alert or an order. And just going to get back to or comment on something we saw earlier on a story in Castanet, and it was about a potential fatality. Here at the RDOS, we certainly can't comment on that because it's an RCMP matter. That information has not been shared with the RDOS, and any questions about it to confirm, you'd have to go through the RCMP. And I'm just looking at the Castanet article now. So when the RCMP send out information releases, sometimes we do receive the information releases, and normally we do actually, but I haven't seen that information release. And I certainly can't comment on that information or confirm it, but it was a Castanet story that talks about what may have happened as a result of the Bald Range wildfire. So we'll have to leave it at that because I don't have any more information on it. Just a few minutes ago, I mentioned that we have some new numbers available for the total number of properties that are impacted by the wildfire that's burning right now. And for the regional district of Okanagan, Similkameen, there are 416 properties, 416 that are impacted by or that have an order. So 416 properties in the RDOS under an evacuation order, 1,100 properties under an evacuation alert. For the district of Summerland, no alerts in place, just one very large evacuation order, and it's impacting about 5,688 properties. For the Penticton Indian Band, you can see on the map there that those the alert and the order rather is in place. And for PIB, there are, to the best of our knowledge, 38 properties under order. And that's based on this GIS information that we have here, because the RDOS Emergency Operations Center is working with PIB and the District of Summerland to help with some of these GIS components and making sure that this map is populated. So 38 properties under order for PIB and approximately 1,082 properties under alert. So if we zoom in on the map here, you can see exactly which areas are under evacuation order in red and evacuation alert in yellow. I'm going to go over to Drive BC to check on the highway again, do a quick refresh, and it looks like the highway is still closed. If you are traveling in the area, the best place to check is Drive BC. There was some questions about whether 201 was a good option. Not necessarily a good option, but you know, it's just not meant for a lot of traffic, and I don't know what the latest is there. From where I'm standing, I haven't heard on it much about it, but I do believe flaggers will be in place to manage any traffic trying to take that back route up to Kelowna. So basically, if you're looking at this map here, you see across the lake to the east, there is a Forest Service Road, 201 Forest Service Road that goes in behind there. And it's sometimes used as an alternative route, but it's not maintained to the specifications or to the extent that you'd want it to be heavily used. So the two options to get around this wildfire, if you look at that map and look to the west, and you see Highway 3A and all the way over to Princeton, it looks like there is some kind of an issue here. I don't know what that is, but anyway, Drive BC, drivebc.ca is the place to go and check out anything to do with the roads, and they are very good about updating this situation here as well. I think we're going to leave this feed open for a while, but I'll be stepping away now and again. We've got some media interviews coming up. And what we've done so far, if you just joined us, is I just left the microphone open and the interview rather than just having dead air. And one is coming up at about 6:30 with Sophie Louie from Global, and also Al Jazeera at at 7:15. Al Jazeera from Malaysia called and wants to know about this wildfire. And I'm not sure exactly why, but I think I do know why. When an entire town, in this case, the district of Summerland, is evacuated and on evacuation order, that's news anywhere. And it's also, as you know, if you live in this area, it's a big deal for local people. There are a number of people here at the RDOS Emergency Operations Center who live in Summerland who are, like myself, impacted by this evacuation order, and it makes what we're doing a little bit different. And you know, we have to stop every once in a while and check in with our families and make sure everyone's okay. But our hearts go out to everyone who's impacted, including those who are working on this wildfire out in hot, dry, smoky conditions, wildfire fighters, fire departments, and those types of people. Someone says I should go for a quick nap. You know, I will be taking off a little bit later on. I'm going to go and have a nice nap, but I'll be back early tomorrow morning. And then, you know, what normally happens with these wildfires is the first couple of days are all hands on deck, and you do need to spend a bit more time. And then you can kind of start to wind it down a bit and really focus on getting very targeted information out to people, any new information, you know, specific things, not just kind of what we're doing, which is just keeping the lines of communication open so people can have a conversation and hopefully not have to search for information and guess. Because when there's an incident like this, it can be confusing, not just for people who are directly impacted, but of course, visitors, people who are traveling. I've heard so many stories about people who are coming to the area for different events, and Peach Fest has put on pause for today and coming to town for that. Anyway, I will take a short break again and leave you with one other website that you might want to check out, just to keep an eye on it. I think if you're looking for information, and it is right here. Where is it now? It's Emergency Info BC. Anyway, I'll go find it later. There's Central Okanagan. I don't know if there's a lot happening there. Let's take a look. So just north of Summerland is the boundary for the regional district of Central Okanagan. And it looks like there is an evacuation order, and also see the map and the latest information from regional district of Central Okanagan. So we'll go back. If anybody does have any questions, oh, someone's asking about info on the fire trend, and what I've been saying quite a few times here is that because BC WildFire is the lead agency on the fire itself, someone like myself with the regional district can't comment on what the fire is doing. I don't even have the intelligence. I have the intelligence. I mean the intel to talk about that, because I don't have that information. But it's also not my job to talk about that, and it would be inappropriate. But what I can do is tell you that if you go to the website for BC WildFire, bcwildfire.ca, you can see the current information about this wildfire. And when you do a bit of research and you look at that map of where this fire is, and you can click on to see how big it is, and then you go over here to the RDOS map and you see that in the last couple of hours, a new order was put in place and some new evacuation alerts. That can tell you a little bit about what the situation is. And our role at the Regional District of Okanagan Similkameen is to work with BC WildFire, take their recommendation, and then activate those alerts and orders, along with Penticton New Band has done the same thing, and Summerland as well. And that will give you some idea of what's going on with the fire. But it is important to remember that what these maps are showing, when you step outside and look at the fire, you realize that, excuse me, things can change very, very quickly. And winds can change quickly and unpredictable too. And that's what a lot of people have said, and the priest said that earlier today about this fire, that the information he was getting from people who were on the ground and in the air was that it just moved so quickly and got big so fast, that it starts to create its own weather. And you know, these fires are getting across the province and across the world. They're just different animals, and what we can do locally as individuals and with our families and communities is just try and get as prepared as we can, and be ready that things happen and the conditions change, and how can we be prepared and not let it stress us out too much. And then when we're into this recovery phase, which we'll be moving into at some point, realize that things will take time, and that people are doing everything they can to make sure that you can get back to your home, and that you can recover in a way that meets your needs. All right, I will take a short break, and I do appreciate your comments for people who are appreciative of this feed. And again, I'll remind you that if you are at home watching on TV, or watching TV, not this, of course, but watching TV, that at 6:30, I'll be on Global to talk a bit more. And if I do have any new information, I'll be sharing it there, but also here on our channel as well. All right, and I'll wrap it up there for a moment and catch up with you shortly.
With Base 44, a simple sentence becomes your website. Page after page, ready for business. Plug in what you need. Connect payments, sync calendars.
Thanks so much for joining me. Very serious wildfire situation unfolding in the South Okanagan Valley region of British Columbia, particularly impacting the community of Summerland as the Bald Range wildfire moved into the community late Friday evening. This fire ignited likely about 5:30 p.m. local time west of the community and exploded in size to nearly 10,000 hectares as of Saturday morning. And we can see here very concerning videos popping up on social media. This one shared by Alexander Zoltan on X, showing a number of structures fully involved in flame there. This is from the Falder area west of Summerland earlier in the evening on Friday, where we know a number of folks were actually evacuated by helicopter as a result of their one road into the community being blocked by the wildfire. So very concerning, very scary situation out there. We know the fire made a very rapid run to the east, crossing over Highway 97 even by the early morning hours of Saturday. This image here shot by Zachary C. showing that scenario. Again, very volatile conditions out there, extreme fire danger, extremely dry fuels. This fire really showing signs of extreme fire behavior. We know that there were about 20,000 people forced from their homes as well, much of that in the overnight hours from Summerland. That'd be very challenging scenario there. A lot of folks heading down to Penticton and some heading up toward Kelowna. In Penticton here again from Alexander Zoltan, an image from the Walmart in Penticton showing a number of trailers there. And we know that Peach Fest is ongoing in Penticton, but there's also a lot of evacuees now in the community as well. This fire really showing signs of extreme fire behavior. Again, this is a bark plate, a big chunk of scorched bark being reported in Summerland. This was still when the fire was well to the west. So this from CamScan here. We know that when you see debris this size several kilometers downwind of the fire, that the updraft or the strength of the vertical motion above the fire is very strong, and it's lofting these chunks of debris well downwind. And if they're still smoldering when they hit the ground, they can land on dry vegetation and actually cause what's called a spot fire. And we see evidence of that in this fire spread. We heard reports that this fire was throwing off embers at least a kilometer ahead of itself, at least ahead of the main sort of organized flame front. This is the head of the fire here, entering the community of Summerland. Excuse me. And we can see as ahead of that organized flame front, we've got these spot fires igniting out ahead of it. So again, that can cause the fire to progress a lot faster than just the progression of this organized flame front here along the head of the fire. It can sort of reconstitute itself with these spot fires out ahead, causing it to travel that much more quickly. From firemap.live here, this is a map showing satellite indicated hotspots here, and these sort of more orangey, lighter reds show a little bit older detections. This is as of sort of mid-afternoon Saturday now, showing 10 hours ago, with more recent detections here in these darker reds 2 hours ago. So again, we're seeing some action continuing in sort of the northern flank there, and especially in the southern flank. But in general, most of that fire spread occurred fairly quickly late Friday evening into Saturday morning. And we know if we look at this map here, we can see underneath it, you can see this officially sort of mapped perimeter there of the fire. And so you need personnel on the ground and in the air to confirm exactly where that perimeter exists. We do see other areas where the hotspots are showing up and that perimeter is not showing up on the map there. We have to be careful in some of these areas, like over Lake Okanagan. Obviously, we know there's no fire on the lake there.
So
and
right
areas
now
here
it
in
is
Summerland, this is
6:09,
concerning. You see these
and
hotspots, but when you have high winds,
I'm
sometimes
going
the
to
hot
be
smoke
on the
itself can
phone
trigger
here in
these
just a moment.
pixels. And
But I
so
just wanted to check in briefly.
we have to
just say I
really
don't have
kind of
any
pay
new
attention to
information at
where
this
this
time.
official perimeter has
I'll
been
do an
mapped here. It looks like it
overview
came
in just
right
a
up
few
to
minutes
the
for
edge
those
of the
of you who are
community of
watching, just to
Summerland and
talk a little bit
continues to
about
spread
some of
southward.
the
We'll talk a
reminders,
bit
some of
more
the
about how
information
this
that we've
could spread
covered through the day,
given our weather
and what our
conditions in the coming
timelines are
days. But
for the
again,
next
looks
little
like it
while. But
ignited
we're
along the
planning
road there.
through the rest of today, the type of information you can expect, and then also looking at what we're going to be doing for tomorrow. And tomorrow, I think we'll be on this feed probably starting at about 7 o'clock, because I have to come in for an interview anyway. So I figure we might as well get this started and then just have it available. And then certainly if conditions change or there's new questions about evacuations, alerts, or emergency support services, we can certainly talk about it then. So I'm just going to pause for a moment and working with a couple of media folks. Again, I don't have any new information, but I'll just remind you that a lot of the links that you're looking for you'll find on the RDOS website. My colleague Kate is preparing an information release right now that will kind of condense some of the different things that have happened, to aggregate them. Some of the alerts that have gone out, the orders, and we've also got those numbers as well on how many alerts and orders are, how many properties are impacted. So, okay, so there's an interesting question: where to go if Penticton is overloaded? So right now there is one reception center that's available, and that is the one at the Penticton Trade and Convention Center. So if you're saying overloaded as in there's just no capacity, I can certainly ask about that and see if there are if there's a contingency for that, and if there's any other opportunities. But I'm going to have to take off right now. But I haven't heard that there are, but I'll let you know if I find out. Okay, stand by. Hi, Eric speaking.
near Trout Creek, west of Summerland, west of Falder as well. So again, that's fairly suspicious given the fact that there has been no lightning in that area. We have very likely human caused along a roadway. It could be any number of causes, whether accidental or intentional. We're not going to speculate any more than that, but nonetheless, we need to be extremely careful out there given the fire danger across the landscape. Of course, we've got evacuation orders over a very large area, basically anywhere from the south side of Peachland all the way just to the northwest of Penticton there. So highly impactful. And of course, again, over 20,000 people so far displaced from their homes. Highway 97 in both directions closed there through that same stretch as a result. Not a great time to be in the South Okanagan right now. Let's talk about the fire spread here that occurred and what some of the factors that caused it to spread so quickly and even, some of these factors that could continue to be important in the spread of this fire in the coming days. This is when the fire initially took off on Friday evening, and immediately these really hot pixels here showing very intense fire behavior at the surface and evidence of very deep convection again there. That just means that this smoke plume goes really high into the atmosphere, high enough that it cools and condenses into cloud there, into a pyrocumulus cloud there. And again, that's a sign of, when you have both this sort of what we call plume-dominated behavior, when the fire power itself is really driving the fire and the fire behavior on the ground, it's combining with winds as well. So you're seeing both combining, making a truly intense wildfire there. And that's the reason why we were seeing those chunks of debris falling well downwind. One of the factors here we can see looks like, upwind, there's a lot of fires burning, but we have this gap there where there's likely some southwest winds blowing. That might have actually played a role in the severity of this fire, given that, it was a lot brighter and sunnier than it would have been had you been, somewhere under the smoke farther to the east. It was probably a little bit hotter and windier at the surface, given this gap in the line here where this clear air was, where that fire ignited. And this image here from the BC Wildfire Service showing that deep convective plume here. Again, really, that's where you'd be seeing these chunks of debris being lofted and then kind of raining down ahead. This looks like this image was shot somewhere near West Kelowna, looking southwestward. Peachland would be about here, Summerland down here, and that's Okanagan Mountain there, where, of course, there was a major fire in 2003. So fire country here in the Okanagan Valley, but extreme conditions out there given the drought across the landscape. Let's talk about some of the weather conditions that have been playing a role in the spread of this fire and the forecast as well. So I'll click a map here from Spot WX. We'll click on Mount Conkle there and look at the HRDPS. This is a Canadian high resolution weather model. Some of the weather that we're dealing with here. High of 31 degrees, getting up into the low 30s during the day, relative humidity in the mid-teens, 15% or so. Whenever your temperature value is higher than your relative humidity value, we call that crossover. It's just very hot, dry conditions that are very favorable for fire spread. Extreme fire weather continuing across the landscape there. But notice here, especially in the late evening, we see these peaks in the wind. This played a role in the fire spread on Friday night, and it likely could play a role in the fire spread in the coming days as well. Again, the smoke is going to play a big role in how ultimately all of this pans out. The smoke could actually knock a few degrees off the temperature and limit the amount of wind that we see. But in the evening, during the day, the winds are going to be relatively light, which is generally a good thing. Of course, you're going to see limited wind-driven spread. Of course, the fire is working through very dry fuels and steep slopes, so that could cause still some rapid growth locally. But overall, not wind-driven during the day, during the peak heating of the day. But in the evening hours, we see this sort of these maxima of wind speed. So what gives? Why is it getting suddenly very windy right around 8, 9, 10, 11 p.m. In the evening?
Right. Hello, testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've just taken the headphones
Well,
out.
let's talk about it here. This is a forecast model from the RDPS, and it's showing this is British Columbia here. We have a relatively weak surface pressure gradient, so there's not much difference between.
Over there to do a quick interview with Global, and I was thinking of just leaving this audio on, but I'm not sure if you can hear it, but you can. So I don't think the audio will be amazing, but I thought rather than you looking at a blank screen, you can hear what's happening with Global. And The transcript of the live feed, I'll have to double check that here in in YouTube, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can set it up when you're watching it. You can ask for the captions, but I'll have to double check that. I do appreciate that. That's an important component of this. Anyway, I'm going to get going on this computer here, and I'll just leave this audio on. So appreciate that it's not amazing, but better probably than just dead air and nothing else. So I'll see how this goes. So you won't be able to hear what Global is saying, though, because I'll have to have these headphones in. Otherwise, it doesn't sound very good. It's kind of behind the scenes. All right. All right, looks like I have a minute before I can call in. I just wanted to double check here, or just reconfirm. If you've just joined us, we're planning here at the RDOS Emergency Operations Center to wrap things up here probably at around 7:30. And what I'll do is provide just a recap of what we've heard today, what we've learned, what we're expecting for tomorrow as far as and information that might be coming out, and then we'll wrap it up. But one more interview after this with Al Jazeera, which will be interesting. Called Asia, because I think what's happening with this fire and an entire town being evacuated has caught their attention. So anyway, we'll see how that one goes, and I'll be with you in just a moment. Good. How are you? Yes, I can. Yeah. Okay.
Significantly worse if the resources didn't pull together, including multiple local fire departments, BC WildFire, search and rescue from multiple different areas, and volunteers, regional district and city staff and Interior Health all pulling together late yesterday night to help evacuees escape and help them through this process. Sophie?
All right, thanks for that, Taya. Fast reporting near Penticton. All right, let's bring
Good,
meteorologist Peter Quinlan back in for a look at the forecast. We know, Peter, that the weather plays a huge role in all of these wildfires. How are things looking as far as the forecast is concerned?
Not ideal, at least for the next few days, Sophie. We are continuing to see this bubbling effect on the visible satellite map, which means very erratic wildfire behavior is likely. Pyrocumulus clouds building up because of the intense heat that these fires have.
Okay. Sounds good.
Today in the press conference, the BC Wildfire Service said even up to rank 6 wildfire behavior is possible. And look at the terminology that's used in this. Causes major harm, blowing up, spreading, extreme aggressive behavior of the fire. We have been seeing this over the last 24 hours now, and now we have seen the region flooded in smoke. This is the view from Kelowna. We still have those orange level air quality alerts, and that will suppress the fire activity. Looking across the region, the risk of thunderstorms through the Caribou Central Interior, BC Peace River, and all the way up into inland sections of the North Coast. So the possibility of more fire startups for Metro Vancouver. The clouds roll back in as we take you through your day tomorrow. Some morning sun, though, then a sunny Monday, Tuesday, low to mid-20s for highs. Meantime, for the Summerland area, look at that, 30 degrees Sunday, Monday, 29 Tuesday. No relief in terms of the long-range forecast until we hit Wednesday, Thursday as we get back into those lower 20s. These days, we're talking about crossover conditions.
To the YouTube feed there, we're just about 2.5 minutes away from this interview, and I know it's not very riveting YouTube, but we're leaving the live feed open with audio, so you'll be able to hear what I have to say to Global, and then I'll come back and do a quick recap, and then we'll probably turn the live feed off at around 7:30, and then we'll aim to resume tomorrow, Sunday morning at around 7 a.m.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so that fire growth will be explosive, and we basically
Not really in the sense of the kind of medicine that can truly prevent disease, not most of it. Problem is that doctors really ought to be in the business of teaching people how to live right. That should be part of the central theme of what we do. I'm Dr. Michael Lyon, and I believe in preventive medicine. That's why I'm here, and that's what I'm going to help you achieve.
Learn more from Dr. Michael Lyon at illumi.health.
Exploring retirement living? Discover Chartwell Vista, featuring resort-style living, personalized service, and spectacular ocean views. Or choose Victoria Harbor by Chartwell, where active living with harborfront energy inspires a vibrant, independent lifestyle. Visit chartwell.com to book your tour.
Rise and shine. Rise to the occasion. 1,000 feet above Lake Okanagan. Rise above it all, where greens meet blue at the Rise Golf Course in Vernon.
Nothing beats the return of the Tim's Grilled Cheese Melts. Well, except if you add bacon to it. The classic you know and love with a little something extra. Enjoy a Tim's Bacon Grilled Cheese Melt. Bacon.
Now is a great time to help you set goals to help you reach financial success.
Maybe you want to reach that success by making a few updates to your home.
Or anything else you've been dreaming of accomplishing.
A Capital Direct FlexiLine can get you there.
How would you use $80,000, $280,000, or even $2.8 million?
For your best financial health, choose FlexiLine Fitness from Capital Direct.
Well, I was here in the
Call us
Emergency
today at
Operations Center
1-800
last night
Capital.
till it seemed like about midnight, and I learned that the evacuation order for the District of Summerland was going to be extended to the entire community.
Well, the Bald Range
And I live in
wildfire
Summerland,
is
so
one
I
of the
realized
quickest
that
moving
that
and
meant I had to
fastest
get home as
growing
quickly as I
wildfires.
could.
Emergency officials in that area say they have ever seen in the region. Eric Thompson is an emergency information officer with the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, and he joins us now. Eric, thank you so much for joining us. And again, you know, as with the Mayor of Summerland, I know that you have also had a very busy, stressful day because you experienced the evacuation firsthand. Tell us about that.
Well, I was here in the Emergency Operations Center last night till it seemed like about midnight, and I learned that the evacuation order for the District of Summerland was going to be extended to the entire community. And I live in Summerland, so I realized that that meant I had to get home as quickly as I could. My wife was already making arrangements. We have small children, we have pets, and I got to tell you, it was a very surreal experience just having to gather together things. I had somewhat of a plan in place, but I was quite busy here and just getting home, talking to the neighbors, making sure they were aware of it because it was late. And then the smoke that was there was ash falling down. It was intensely hot just because the temperature wasn't cooling down at night. And yeah, it was a very strange experience, and one that you know, makes me appreciate what people have to go through when they're actually dealing with flames outside of their home, which I luckily wasn't.
Mm-hmm. I imagine a fairly sleepless night for you for so many reasons, but thousands of evacuees because of this fire. Eric, how is the community set up in terms of resources to accommodate all these people?
Well, we were talking about 12,000 people. There are some 5,000 or more properties involved in the order. So Penticton is the host community, and they've jumped in to help out. And there was an initial evacuation reception center set up, and that quickly had to be moved. And actually, there was one in Summerland before that. But the Penticton Trade and Convention Center has been set up. It is busy. There's certainly some capacity challenges because you've got so many people in such a short amount of time. But the Emergency Support Services Program and the City of Penticton and all the people who have jumped in to help out have really made it work the best they can. And it just requires some patience, certainly, from people. And anyone who has a place to go and stay, especially those who are on evacuation alert right now who are not on order, if you have a place to stay, because hotel rooms are certainly difficult to come by.
Yeah, the situation is evolving. We saw how fast it happened last night, overnight, Eric. Those alerts and orders can happen at any moment. What advice would you give now, having gone through it yourself, to those who may be near the evacuation alert zone but not on alert yet? Like, should they get ready just in case?
Absolutely. And when you look at the map on BC Wildfire's website, you can see how big this fire is, and it's really difficult from moment to moment to determine which direction it's going to go in. So if you are anywhere near this fire and you're not under an evacuation alert or an order, I would absolutely recommend getting ready. And that means getting all your documentation and things that you want to take with you. That was the strangest thing for me in the middle of the night. I have a plan roughly in place, but when I realized I then had to start loading up my vehicle with things that I wanted to take in case I didn't come back, in case my house wasn't there, that was not a nice feeling. But being prepared in advance can really help a lot and takes a lot of the stress away.
And just quickly, Eric, can you explain the importance of registering or pre-registering as an evacuee?
Well, it can certainly save a lot of time and a lot of hassle for people, because if you're having to go do it in person, that takes time. So ess.gov.bc.ca, and that's how you can make sure that you're already in the system and qualify as well. I wanted to mention, Sophie, as well, that we've got right now approximately 6,000 homes that are on order, properties rather, within the Regional District, Summerland, and also Penticton Indian Band, and about 2,000 homes are on alert. Today, the call was made to pause Peach Fest just for today, and they'll reconvene tomorrow and see what they can do.
All right. Well, I hope you stay safe and your family is doing well. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Up next, we'll take a breather from our wildfire coverage. Barry DeLay has sports and the return of Nathan Rourke.
Good, how are you? Oh. Is that okay there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, thank you. All right, there we go. So that is on the computer there now is Al Jazeera from Malaysia. For some reason, they are. Just 1 second. All right, I'm going to do a quick recap here in just a moment, so just stand by, please. All right, let's take a quick look at what happened today here in the regional district of Okanagan-Similkameen and also in the region as well, Summerland. My hometown, well, has been for many years. So first of all, my name is Eric Thompson. If you've just joined us, I am the information officer, one of the information officers working in the Emergency Operations Center, which is a regional emergency operations center. And that means that we're working with partners, the different agencies, but also working with the district of Okanagan, or excuse me, the district of Summerland and the city of Penticton and PIB and others to coordinate what has been absolutely incredibly difficult wildfire to manage. BC WildFire, of course, as the lead agency on this, has been doing so much work with just under some very difficult circumstances. And all throughout the day, we've heard so much about what this fire did overnight. It's still very much a volatile, unpredictable fire. So what I can talk about is not the fire, because I'm not the fire expert. I'm the person who is trying to share some information with you about what you can do to get prepared. So if you're looking at that map right now, you can see that's a very large fire. I'm going to hit the refresh again. The alerts and orders have expanded for this wildfire, which tells you a little bit something about the behavior and how big it is. So if you look at this map and look to the southern portion, you'll see that there's a new evacuation order that was issued a little earlier today, and then also 3 or 4 new evacuation alerts that were issued. And if you want to find out the specifics, if you want to take a look at this map, you can go to the RDOS Emergency Operations Center website, and I'm going to put that one in the chat in case you haven't seen it yet. And we'll put that right there. And that way you can tell if your property is under an evacuation order or alert. Key point here is that with this fire being so large and moving in different directions at any given time, it's really important that you are, if you're in the area, that you stand by and be prepared. Make decisions that will make it easier for you and your family should the conditions change, should you have a situation where you're under an evacuation order. People are asking a lot about the ability to support residents. So there were some, it's hard to say how many thousands of people, but the population of Summerland is about 12,000. We're looking at something like 5,800 homes, and everybody had to leave. So there were people who had left already, but the remainder of them all had to leave, including myself and some of my colleagues here, and the mayor, Doug Holmes, had to leave all at once. And what that meant was that the highway was busy, but people And the mayor said this earlier today here, people were very respectful. They were working together to just, in an orderly fashion, get out of the town, get out of the area and move south because the highway at that point was closed. So people were coming into Penticton. Some of them were heading further south, which is what I did. And the reception center that was set up and still remains set up at the Penticton Trade and Convention Center. The host community is Penticton, and their staff and all the ESS volunteers are doing an incredible job to process people, to get them through there, to get them the support they need. There are vehicles parked in different store parking lots and at the South Okanagan Events Center where the Penticton Bees play. And I know that there was talk today of trying to look at a different situation where we can house those people in a better way. So that work is certainly underway. And if we find out anything more tomorrow, I'll let you know. The total number of homes, properties that are impacted, approximately 6,000 different properties in this region under an evacuation order. Some 2,000 are under evacuation alert. And just quickly, again, if you're not familiar with those terms, an evacuation order means you have to leave immediately. There are people who maybe have chosen to stay behind, and that's just not a safe idea. It can put first responders at risk. It can potentially lead to a situation where first responders can't fight the fire because someone has decided to stay behind. So that's an order. That means you have to leave the area. And then an alert, of course, means get ready to leave, take the steps you need to be prepared, have your grab and go bag ready. I was saying this all day yesterday, talking about that, and then all of a sudden it happened to me and I had to start doing what I was talking about. And I can tell you that big difference talking about it versus doing it. But I had it in my mind, knowing exactly what I needed to do. Make sure my family's safe, make sure we have what we need. I made a few mistakes. Didn't grab a toothbrush, but I have one now. Just little things like that where I just was thinking about the bigger picture and I wanted to go talk to my neighbors and make sure they were okay. But it was a trying time, but we got through it. And just like with this situation here, we've got a big fire in the area. It's causing a lot of concern, but we'll all get through it. We will, and we'll make sure that we're safe, because first and foremost, any emergency like this, the priority is life safety, making sure that people are safe. Property is important, but it can be replaced. And I'm a hoarder. I love stuff. I collect things, and the thought of my house not being there when I get home, I'm not a hoarder, but I collect stuff. And the thought of my house not being there, and I really hope that doesn't happen to anybody, is troubling. But you take the steps you can. If I've said to people before, if you're under an evacuation alert and you like your grand piano, that's the time to move that out of your house, not during an order, because once the order hits, you will likely have very little or no time to leave your home. So keep that in mind. You've got your special things. Get them packed up and ready well in advance and moved out of the area. Now, the stuff is important, but what about your pets? If you've got a bunch of animals, and what are your plans to move them as well? So those are some of the things just to keep in mind. And again, things that I learned firsthand at around 1 o'clock this morning, give or take, depending on what time it was. So the lodging situation right now is challenging for Penticton because we have so many people in the area. So hotel rooms are certainly difficult to come by. So if you do know who, someone you can stay with in the area, keep that in mind. Maybe make some plans ahead of time. What is your plan if you have to change where you are? Now, if we jump ahead, I know that a lot of people who are out on evacuation order right now want to know when they can get back in, and I'm among those people. I want to know when I can get back and see my property, when I can find out how things are doing. So I think it's really important at this point to be aware of the process. That process involves, especially with Summerland right now, with some challenges with water. I have heard the power is back on, but the process has to be that people are safe so they can get back in to the property, not just the threat of wildfire being gone, but is there potable water? Is there damage to the neighborhood? So until that can be assessed, steps can't be taken to get people back in. And then it's the longer picture of recovery and what that looks like. So it will be a long process, but again, we'll get through it. And the RDOS and the other agencies and municipalities and First Nations involved will be available to make sure that it happens. And I think with things like YouTube, we can make sure we can give you as much information as possible. We certainly won't be live streaming all the time, but the information will be made available as soon as it's confirmed and available. With that, I think I'm going to pause now I did see a mention there about getting back to my family. Absolutely, that is on my list. I have one more interview with Al Jazeera at 7:15, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to be with my family and just chill out. People keep saying, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. If I keep working, I'm actually okay. It's when I stop and sit and have a break. So I'm going to keep it going right to the end, just like I do trail running, and you're not done until you're done. But yeah, I'm going to go and be with my family. That'll be really nice. And, I think at that point, I've pretty much said everything that I can say. Where the reception center is. It's on Power Street. You're familiar with the alerts and orders. You've asked some great questions, provided some good advice. I do appreciate that. And I'll wrap it up for now. One last interview, which I'll just leave the mic on at that point. So that's about 7:15. And then we'll wrap it up by 7:30. And I'll see you again